Welcome, everyone. This is a program called Education for Life. Now, Education for Life has two meanings. It's intended to be education for a lifetime and education for your life. So this is going to be highly personal. And we're going to start with a reading taken from Marianne Williamson on fear. This is a pretty heavy-duty reading, so I'm going to go through it rather slowly and make some comments along the way. And also, I'm going to pause to give you a little time to reflect. So this is called Fear. It's taken from Gifts from A Course in Miracles, and if you're interested in the page 63. So here we go. Fear. There is nothing to fear. Now, that's quite a big statement because I think a lot of people in our society live in a chronic state of fear. This simply states a fact. It is not a fact to those who believe in illusions. Later on, we're going to pursue that word and look at 10 specific illusions in life. But illusions are not fact. In truth, there is nothing to fear. So notice what she's saying is, in truth, there is nothing to fear. Truth is another big word that we'll pursue in the future. Fear lies not in reality, but in the minds of children who do not understand reality. And here's another big statement. Only your mind can produce fear. So I'm going to pause for a second or two to let you reflect on that. Only your mind can produce fear. So what's implied in that statement is that fear does not exist in the external world. It's in our internal world. Attempting the mastery of fear is useless. In fact, it asserts the power of fear by the very assumption that it need be mastered. So when we focus on fear as a problem, we're living within an illusion because it's not real. Attempting the mastery of fear is useless. So one thing to pay attention to there is it's where our attention goes. So if we have our attention on fear, it's going to increase. In fact, it asserts the power of fear by the very assumption that it need be mastered. And by the way, there is no power in fear. The true resolution rests entirely on mastery through love. So there we shift our attention from fear to love, which is a position of power. The need to recognize fear and face it without disguise is a crucial step in the undoing of the ego. So now that we've used that word ego that has many meanings in our world, I'm going to narrow down on it and say the ego is the false conditioned self. In fact, Deepak Chopra calls it living within the hypnosis of social conditioning. Fear itself is an appeal for help. This is what recognizing fear really means. So if someone is criticizing you or attacking you in any way, they're in a state of fear, and it's really a cry for help. Fear and attack are inevitably associated. So once again, if I'm being attacked by another through criticism or any other means, they're really asking for help. If only attack produces fear, and if you see attack as a call for help that it is, the unreality of fear must dawn on you. For fear is a call for love. Look at what you're afraid of. Take a look at that right now. Only the anticipation will frighten you. So generally, fear is in the future. Under each cornerstone of fear on which you have erected your insane system of belief, there's another big word, belief. We're going to pursue that word in the future and start looking at what I call, and what A Course in Miracles calls, errors in perception. For example, I am not worthy. That is an error in perception. The truth lies hidden. So if we look under our system of beliefs and look at, as an example, I am not worthy, the truth is, yes, we are. Where fear has gone, there love must come. Now, this is also interesting. So what it's suggesting is, when we shift from fear to love, fear no longer exists. Because these are the only alternatives. Where one appears, the other disappears. So once again, if you notice you're in fear, you can shift into love and fear will disappear. And which you share becomes the only one you have. So if I share fear, then that's all I have. If I share love, that's all I have. And by the way, if you'd rather substitute the word compassion for love, that works. Without anxiety, the mind is wholly kind. So anxiety really is a description of fear in the body. So when we hear ourselves say, I'm anxious, that's something we feel in the body. So it is fear-based. How deceived was I to think that what I feared was in the world instead of in my mind? So now I'm going to offer you a 4-step process for transforming fear. In other words, shifting from fear to love. And this is taken from A Course in Miracles. Number 1, know first that this is fear. Number 2, fear arises out of a lack of love. So we're back to, if it is fear, then we're not in love. Fall in love, guys. Number 3, the remedy for a lack of love is perfect love. And for those who are spiritually inclined, which really doesn't matter, you can do this secularly or spiritually, you can say, well, perfect love is spirit. And you could do that humanistically or environmentally. Perfect love is spirit. Perfect love is the at-one-ment. In other words, perfect love recognizes the unity of all life. So I have an additional reading from Pema Chodron, and here we go. Underneath our ordinary lives, underneath all the talking we do, all the moving we do, all the thoughts in our mind, there is a fundamental groundlessness, which, by the way, will produce fear. It's there bubbling along all the time. We experience it as restlessness and edginess. We experience it as fear. It motivates, real important to hear this in terms of the status of our world. It motivates aggression, ignorance, jealousy, and pride. But we never get down to the essence of this groundlessness. So I would ask you a question. What is your grounding in life? So here's a personal story. I lived with an alcoholic father, and I think I was in my teenage years when I recognized that he might have a problem with alcohol because he consumed alcohol every day, all day. And it just came to me one day that he has fear in every cell of his body. Now, I didn't know that as a kid because I didn't know about biochemistry and cellular biology, etc. I know today that was an accurate description. So at the age of 40, my lovely wife presented the idea that maybe alcohol is a problem in our relationship. And of course, my mind immediately thought, oh, I'll show her I can control alcohol. So I went out with a friend of mine. She said something like, if you have more than 3 drinks a day, you might be an alcoholic, which, by the way, I've come to know that's not true. What's true is if alcohol is at the center of my life, then I got a problem with alcohol. So anyway, I'm at the age 40, and after she told me about the 3-drink limit, and I went out with a friend of mine to a seafood restaurant north of New Orleans, and he said, let's get a pitcher of beer. And I said, sure. So they brought out the pitcher, and I had this 3-drink limit in my mind, and brought out the glasses. The glasses were 8-ounce glasses. And I did some quick math and said, well, a can of beer is 12 ounces. That's 36 ounces. So I can have 5 of these because this is an 8-ounce glass. Well, shortly afterwards, I said, I really might have a problem with alcohol. So it's a long story, but it's about lineage and ancestry, and it's been in my family for many generations. So fortunately for me, I started doing therapy and went into AA and got sober. It's been 30 years now, and I'm a much happier guy. How's that story? There's a lot more involved. Yeah, I think stories are important.